All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. I think we are live. So let's get right into it, all right? Because this is a live conversation that's going to transform your business, but it all started yesterday with discussion questions. So those discussion questions were, do you think people clearly understand why they should hire you specifically? You specifically, okay? Not what you do, but why should they hire you in particular? Do you think inconsistent content hurts credibility? And do you think your audience sees you as an expert or just somebody who posts online? Okay, I asked those three questions. We're going somewhere with that. You'll see what that is in a moment. But let's go to some of the answers that we got in the group on yesterday on Talk About It Tuesday. So, Dr. Tachi said, yes, I think people understand why they should hire me specifically. I would like to work on more specific messaging, however. Then she said, if you are positioning yourself as someone who uses content to push business further, inconsistency can definitely hurt credibility. Then she said, for number three, I know my audience definitely sees me as an expert. In fact, they consistently use the word expert in regard to me whenever I pop up or show up. Amazing. All right. So that's Dr. Tachi. She is in studio today, so she can go further with that. Secondly, Heather Athiambi was on here, and she said, number one, I think so. When I get an author on a call, I close probably 75% of the time. For number two, she said, I think my slapdash approach to content is more the problem. I don't post consistently about the business. I need to pay me, but I certainly post about every other doggone thing. And she said, yes, she is seen as an expert by her audience. Then we got Dr. Latoya Davis. She said, not sure about the first question. She's not sure if people clearly understand why they should hire her specifically. She said, I don't think inconsistent content hurts credibility, but I do think not doing what you say you're going to do hurts credibility. Meaning, if I say I'm going live or going to post a video and don't, she says, I think I'm seen as an expert. So let's start with Dr. Latoya. Dr. Latoya Davis, you said you not sure about the first question. You're not sure if people know why they should hire you specifically. Got any more thoughts on that?
The correct answer would be yes, but the real answer would be no. I've been wondering like why I think that. Why do I
Mm-hmm.
think that? And I think it's because how people come into my kind of ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of it is just because they either somebody told them or because they, just saw me. And I don't know if that's a why. Like I don't know what about that creates the why, right? So
Okay.
what I'm saying is I don't think that there's something in the positioning that I'm necessarily putting out other than just showing up that
Okay.
is creating that why. And that's my answer.
Gotcha. But what does that signal to you when you've had to answer that question? I'm not sure. I don't think so. Like, what does that signal to you that maybe is missing in your messaging, that maybe is missing in as an opportunity of when they come in to clear that up?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's something in there.
Yeah.
I guess I probably need to get clear on the why too. Like
Mm-hmm.
like I think I'm too like in my head. Like I know the differentiators, right? We've
Mm-hmm.
done
Mm-hmm.
all that. But I'm like that's not a why. For me the why is like because we match. you know, like the other things aren't a why
Yeah.
for me. And so I think that's the problem that I have just from a philosophical, my own personal
Mm-hmm.
value standpoint.
Okay. Okay. Well, what I have to say today may help clear that up. I don't know. Let me know. Okay. So, with the discussion questions, it kind of gives you an inkling of what I'm going to talk about, but let me clear that up right now. I'm talking about the clarity of authority, right? Is your authority clear? Okay. Now, there are some prerequisites when it comes to authority that I'm assuming. I have some assumptions. I assume you actually have an expertise that brings about a transformation that you are selling. Okay. In other words, you can do what you say you gonna do. All right. I assume you have credibility, which is people actually believe and trust that you can bring about that transformation and that you are actually an expert. If you want to know more about credibility, go back to April 29th live discussion replay because I did a deep dive on credibility and how to build more of it. Okay. So, but prerequisites and assumptions, I assume you have an expertise that gets the transformation that you claim to sell and that you already have credibility. Okay. Now, when we're talking about clarity of authority, all right, there are some things we've talked about in the past, some past morning shows. We've talked about a few givens. One of those givens is visibility. Visibility that is positioned to the right people, okay, because of the expertise that you say you have and the transformation that you say you get, so that that is visible. Okay, already that's visible. All right, so that is it's out there. Then another given is that you do show up consistently. Now, when I say consistently, some of y'all have already overwritten in your head what consistently means. That is not always every day. Okay, it's not always every week, but consistently means they can predict when they're going to see you again. Okay, so if it's once a month, it's once a month. Now, you already know once a month may not be enough. So, whatever it is, I'm just saying consistent. I have not put a connotation on the word consistent to tell you exactly how often to show up. It's not frequency, it's consistent. Okay, so it's not every day. It's also not to prove your credibility. You're not proving credibility. That's why I assumed you already had credibility. Okay. So, what the given is when it comes to consistency is that you are coming on a routine schedule, whatever that is, to stay top of mind and to give value that reminds people of the credibility that you already have as authority. Okay, because you want to build relationships and then you're able to take that trust and convert it into sales when you do come in and sell something. So, in other words, you should not just be showing up when you want to sell something. You should be showing up at other times to remind people of your credibility, establish your authority by giving some value. And then by the time you come in with a pitch for your offer, it converts very well. Okay. But that's a given. Another given that through visibility and consistency combined, you become if not the definitive voice in your niche that your ideal client looks to for guidance and solution. Okay, so that's like deeper than trust, because trust could be I like, know you, I believe that you are who you say you are, I believe you can do what you say you can do, right? But a whole nother level of that is when I need help for what you do, I come to you. I come to your content to figure out what you're saying about it. I come to you to figure out what are your thoughts on things. I come to you to see how you're solving problems. All right. So all of those things are givens. So how do we go to the next level with this clarity of authority? And that is we want to dominate. Okay. We want to have market ownership. And that means that when the topic that you are the expert on comes up, your name comes up next, okay? In the minds of people, in the minds of your ideal client, in the minds of your audience. When people talk about operations and fractional COO, they think Shay Cannon, okay? The next thing is that it's completely different than just being known. When you own, it's most it goes beyond how often you post, okay? It goes beyond just being an expert. And I want to give you some ways to dominate and own your marketplace. All right. So the first thing is I want you to become unforgettable to the right people. Become unforgettable. Now, you can post every day and people still don't know who you are. You could post every day and people still don't know what you sell. I see it all the time. A lot of y'all are afraid to ask for the sale, so people don't even know what you have for sale. All right. Some of you are experts, but you are experts in a whole bunch of stuff. So you come off as being a jack of all trades. So it's not just the things that we've assumed, which is you have the expertise, you have the transformation, and you have the credibility. Now we want to dominate. So how do you do that? Become unforgettable to the right people. Become unforgettable to the right people, and that is your ideal clients. How do we do that? That is, you need to start repeating whatever the theme of your messaging is. You need to repeat it over and over again. This is about repetition. Some of you are assuming that because you talked about it once, everybody knows. And what I'm gonna tell you is I love you, but people ain't paying that much attention to you that when you speak one time, that's enough. Everything has to be repeated. So the theme of your messaging, whatever solution, belief, mission you're on, needs to be repeated. Whatever your framework is for solutions, it needs to be repeated. Whatever languaging you like to use, y'all know I like to say things like it's not a master class if you're not a master, or if the class won't make the people coming to it a master, right? So I have certain language patterns that needs to be repeated. Your positioning, what you believe versus what might be out there, needs to be repeated. Beliefs need to be repeated. Your problem that you solve, you know, that one problem that you need to be known for, needs to be repeated. Okay, so become unforgettable to your ideal clients, and you do that by repeating your theme and your messaging, repeating your frameworks, repeating your language patterns, repeating your positioning amongst the competition, repeating what you believe, and repeating the problem that you own through the solution and offer that you give. All right, so that's one way that we're going to dominate. Add to that, we're going to have proprietary conversations. Proprietary conversations. Now, I know you know what proprietary is. It means ownership. Okay. It means something specific that is owned by a specific entity. Proprietary, right? But conversations. So, how do you do that? How do I own a conversation? Well, what you need to know is your language becomes recognizable. How you say things become recognizable. Your tone, your like I am very known for being straight talk, straight no chaser, no fluff, right? I am known for using language that breaks things down. I don't try to talk over your head. I don't try to make myself seem more smarter than you by speaking in a way that you don't understand. So hire me so I can help you understand. No, I speak in ways that make things make sense so that you understand who you are in relative to the operations that you need for the goals that you have, right? So language that becomes recognizable. Your frameworks become teachable, right? So you guys already know there are certain things that I teach for business growth to help you on your path to the first six figures, okay? To support you in getting there. But I talk about the same things in the framework all the time, okay? I talk about time management, which y'all know my version of language is not time management, it's management of yourself in time. See, another example of language that's recognizable from me. I talk about marketing. I talk about organization. I talk about sales. I talk about scaling. There's a framework that makes things happen as far as how I teach and give you information. What is your framework? You need to be teaching on that framework. All right. What are your ideas that become repeatable? Because one of my ideas is if you don't put it on the calendar, it's not happening. This is why I like to start with time, because I can give you all the strategies in the world. I can give you all the know-how in the world. But if you don't make the time to apply these things, we're dead in the water. So what ideas do you have that are repeatable? And then your concepts become referenceable things about other people, right? So people who are in my audience who listen to me all the time, there are certain phrases that I say that stick with them. Heather says all the time that she uses my one calendar system. It helps her a lot that she has somewhere where all the things demanding of her time are on one calendar. Now, she has other calendars, but there's at least one of them that has everything so that she knows what her actual time looks like. So, what are some of the things that you say that are referenced by other people that are a part of your proprietary conversations? Okay. Now, all of this, as far as being unforgettable, as far as having these proprietary conversations, all of that allows you to go from just being known because you consistently post. Because see, we're going beyond consistently posting. Just because you're known for the title that you have, just because you're known for the type of content that you put out, we're going away from being known and going to being a trusted filter. Okay, a trusted filter. Now, what does a filter do? A filter is something people take raw stuff and they add a filter so that they just get the part that they need. That kind of filter. Okay, so you want your audience to use you with all the stuff they're hearing. They come to you to get, okay, I want this person to interpret what I need. That makes you the trusted filter. And you do this by shaping the standards, having the conversations and shaping the conversations, shaping what the priorities should be rather than what the noise is telling them it is, helping them to have the right kind of expectations, use the right language, right? Because I'm always telling y'all about buzzwords versus what things really mean, and shaping how industries think. Right? I have so many people that because I'm loud and proud about my beliefs on things being used and said the right way, there are certain people who have stopped saying it the wrong way, even in my industry. So, can you shape your industry's thinking? So, people start evaluating other experts through your lens. I can't help everybody. I can't be everybody's fractional COO, right? But what I can do is be the filter and the example by which you hire other people that do what I do. So that is market ownership. Now, I am very, very, very excited and interested in what our in studio audience wants to say about this theme of authority. So we're going beyond posting. We're going beyond the things that you've learned before and into domination, market ownership. All right. I'm gonna start with Dr. Tachi. Dr. Tachi, what are your thoughts on this market ownership as we go beyond just being an expert and an authority in our marketplace?
Yeah, that's a big question. It's interesting because I think we've conflated just posting and just
Yes.
sharing with
Mhm.
actual expertise and then going on to own the market, as you say.
Yes.
So I agree. I mean, it sounds like I'm just agreeing with you, but it's true. And it's made me think about now
Mhm.
how do I go above and beyond just
Exactly, because you
post.
know that's my next question, right? What is a way that you in your industry tell the people your industry in case they don't know who the infamous Dr. Well, famous Dr. Tachi. You're not infamous. Famous Dr. Tachi. Tell them you're in your industry and what are your thoughts on ways you can start to own that space and dominate?
So my industry is media, and that's all kinds of media. So video creation,
Mhm.
also podcasting, etc. Anything that's media, and also the education of that.
Yes.
So I think that's one way that I stand out because this is actually what the hell I studied. And so
Okay.
not
Look,
only am I
is
a
that what put the doctor in Dr. Tachi?
it is. It is. All three of my degrees are in communication slash media in some sort of way. So not only am I a practitioner, I'm also a scholar in this, which can be rare, right? Because
Yes.
often you have one or the other and not both. And I have both. So I think that's a way that to
Yeah.
do it because I have mastered the education part of it. Well, I don't want to say that because I think you're always learning
Hmm.
always adding to your repository of knowledge,
Yes.
but it's one way that I stand out.
It definitely is. So the question I think that's glaring is, are you showing up in a way that people understand that doctor is a separation, a huge separator between you and the competition? Are you putting that information out there enough?
I don't think I'm doing it enough, and this is partially why. And Dr.
Mhm.
Latoya can probably attest to this. The fact that if because I think you went to an HBCU, I think. But often you're taught humility, and this is not just an HBCU, but Black people in general. We are
Mhm.
taught to be humble and taught humility, and that's
Yes.
something that's hammered into you. And I've always had the belief, I'm like, well, I don't always have to say it because it lives on my sleeve. I know who I am in here. I
Mhm.
don't always have to say it. So that's what I've kind of gone by. And
Mhm.
it's only the only reason that I'm Dr. Tachi is because people kind of started requesting that, if that makes any sense, because I really
Mhm.
didn't care before. I cared, but not enough to always put it out there. So I
Mhm.
think though that people also like authority and they like actual credentials, if that makes any sense. There's so
Yes.
many people running around with rubbish credentials. So when somebody
Yes.
actually has
Or
something,
none.
or none, exactly. Rubbish credentials or none. So when somebody
Mhm.
actually has them, I think it adds credibility. So I'm not putting it out there enough, except for the fact that I am Dr. Tachi, but I'm not really talking about it as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But see, I think that you should. And I think that you should. Some of the methodologies that you have learned that is behind that doctorate should be a part of the conversation, right? So for me, I take high, academia, operational methodologies, and I break them down. I don't really mention the methodologies, right? But I also don't have that academia as one of my credentials. You actually do. So you could actually say, hey, this methodology that we studied is why we don't do this, this, and this that these people are out here telling y'all to do, because that's going to be temporary, or that's actually not going to work, or whatever. So I feel like you should bring that to the conversation, because there are not enough educated people in the arena with you. So that is the first thing that should be the big sword that you're carrying as you walk in before you ever open your mouth. They should know that the doctor and Dr. Tachi is the expertise in where you actually have offers. And so what better way to start the domination than that investment you put in yourself? People understand that you know so much about this topic that you invested X number of years of higher education to understand it, understand the foundation, to understand how to grow it, to understand how to deal with all these things. And that because of that education, there are certain things that should never happen, or there are certain things that should always happen. I think that that definitely needs to be a part of the conversation, and it should be a part of you explaining it, should be a part of your proprietary conversation, right? So
Boom,
there's the
boom.
academic, I know, right, Shawana? There's the academic stuff that, is up here that
Mhm.
they try to keep out of reach of the non-academic person, but then you come up with your own languaging for that stuff as you break it down and help people to understand. And that's how your proprietary conversations could start. Does that make sense?
It does because I need money back from this degree. So yes,
I'm
I
just saying.
will I will do that.
Yes. Cool beans, cool beans. Well, I'll go to Dr. Toya since Dr. Latoya Davis was already asked. Did you go to a HBCU? Do you understand what she's saying about the humility part? And also, what do you think about today's conversation about market ownership and domination, and how are you going to apply it?
So I did go to an HBCU for undergrad, and I work actively with people on, particularly again, women of color, on trying to dismantle the idea of humility and being humble. Because we were at FAMU, we were taught to brag, but in general, we are taught to be humble and not take ownership of things. And
Mhm.
for a long time, when I entered into the business world, I did have that, like, that was a barrier for me, right? This idea of playing small. Um, and I didn't take on the doctor moniker until I was the executive director of a community center in this really small town with a lot of like elder Black people. And they would get on me because I didn't put that in front of my name. And I was like, but no, it's just, and like they refused to call me anything other than Dr. Latoya or Dr. Davis. And I realized at that moment that it wasn't about me, that particularly for people who were older than me, it meant something more because I had achieved something that, a lot of them didn't have the opportunity for. And so that's how I leaned into it. But back to where we are. Um, so I struggle though, saying all of that. Um, the credential thing, it's for me, okay, there are two things happening. I think that we attract the type of people. My ideal client is the type of person that would be like me, right? So I am clear, I'm definitive. Like you show up, you say something, I like it, I'm in, right? I don't need to know all of this stuff. Like, can you do the thing based on how you show up? And so I think because that is the type of person that I want to attract, I don't lead with the things because now your expectation of me is not what I'm going to give you. Right? I'm going to break a sentence. I'm going to talk in a loop. I'm going to do all of those things. And I need you to be very well aware of that. And so I don't put it out there as much. But I'm like, I literally call Dr. Latoya, right? So that's like my whole thing. So that there is some academia in that aspect. But as far as the authority positioning and how you were talking about it, I do feel like my people can say what I say consistently, right? I'll hear people in my comments be like, I was going to do this. And then you popped up in my head and you said such and such, right? So I think my positioning and what I say, I'm consistent across all things. I have my little phrases and how I say it. I am consistent in how I show up on social media. And my approach is that my goal is be a thought leader, right? So I don't approach content from I'm just putting out content. No, it's like, no, I want to be a thought leader with significant market share in this field or in this space being personal development and spirituality. And so I am very clear and cognizant about how I show up and what I put out in regard to that.
I love everything that you said, but it also goes back to when you said you didn't know about number one of the question from yesterday. It's playing a part today, right? Because you may have I know who my people are, but the problem is how do they identify you as their person earlier, and how do more people identify you as their person? You see what I'm saying? So it's gonna be that I don't necessarily lean into my academia for your specific space, but you do more of the proprietary conversations. But you tell them where you started from, right?
Yes.
Tell them about the start of the academia, but how that means little when you go in here, right? Tell them about the things that they're going to relate to more often. So that now we're into that repetition more, right? So that we're unforgettable to the right people, but we got to say the same things over and over again so that they latch onto it and understand. But to me, for you, it's going to be more about those proprietary conversations. How do you make it make sense? Because a lot of the people that you work with, again, Plymouth Rock landed on them. They didn't land on Plymouth Rock, right? So you're going to have to start to have them Plymouth Rock conversations and how, hey, from under the rock, do you hear me? You know what I'm saying? Hey, I know why you're there. Hey, I know why they put the rock in the way. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have more of those conversations and give it phrasing and use words that you want to use, you want to own, and then become proprietary to you rather than what's out there that you don't agree with, rather than what's out there that's stumping them, rather than what's out there that got them stuck. So start to have more of those conversations. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I do. And I think how you just said it shifted it for me in my brain because when you asked the question, like, do they know why? I automatically went to like the credential, right? That unique point of like all of that stuff. But what I realize is the why people come to me is because of the relatability. That's the why. And I do that very well. So yes.
Yes. But I think we need to do it louder and in more places and more plainly and with your languaging. So that's why I also When something is something that I don't kind of agree with the connotation that's on it, I change the language, right? Like, people say human resources. Well, they didn't change human resources to HR. When people hear human resources, they don't even think people. So I changed that language into be, what are your people resources? So it goes back to, who are the people you need? And understand that they are a resource to you. They should bring value to you. They are of value. They are people, right? So because people, when HR just goes, nobody is stopping to think of these as people. So I change it, people resources. So we can do a lot of that, so that whatever is out there that we don't agree with, we change the language to then change the connotation of it. I love to change the languaging of project management is another one. I don't say project management, because when people hear project management, they immediately want to say, well, do you have a PMP? Do you have this certification? Do you have that? Are you a Scrum Master? All this connotation comes in. And so I don't say project man, I say project execution. Now you can't put nothing on that but what I tell you. So these are how we take, I'm going to say, control of the conversations and reprogram the meaning of things into our belief systems by relabeling them. And then now we own that conversation around that phrasing and those words. And it's funny because I say a lot of stuff that I then see some of the gurus start to say, and some of those gurus are connected to me, and some of those gurus I have paid, but they love taking my languaging and using it. And I just look at that as proof of concept. But yeah, start owning that stuff by taking, when people are using words you don't like, then I would give them the word that I want them to use, and within the definition, address what I don't like about the word that other people use, is what I would say, Dr. Toy. All right, let's go to Shawana Kennedy, Kennedy Media. Shawana, how are you feeling about this dominating and owning the market in your niche? What are you doing to become unforgettable to the right people? What ways can we apply more of this proprietary conversation where you become the filter and the guide and the solution for your people?
Well, this has been definitely a rich conversation, and this is where I was, this where you'd be like, oh, I hate we're not like at a round table, because I couldn't hit the button fast enough. This was like back in the day when you could hit the heart and the hearts just keep floating, because that's really how I felt about the conversation. And you're right. And I remember a conversation you once had on the show, and I said, oh, it's time to run that back, because it's time for us to brag about it and brag again.
Mm-hmm.
I was loving what you were saying about Dr. Tachi, and even with Dr. Toya making reference to, like, no, they were taught, no, this is what they want us to do. And it's one of the things that, of course, I go running through my content while you're speaking. And what I've noticed that not that I have to do, but I need to do, is because I need to state the fact that there is over 2 decades of experience behind me, behind the founder, as it relates to Kennedy Media. And some people need to see that number or hear that number to give a little bit more of an edge, versus now the word visibility, the same thing I think about when I talked about self first, before the pandemic, and then it became a thing for self-care. And now everybody is speaking in the word visibility, but I'm like, no, we don't do it in that way. Because over here, we don't just create content, we create recognition. And that's what it's about when you are being consistent. And that is the thing to say that make you undeniable, that make you unforgettable, is how you are standing up and how you help other people, depending on your service-based business, is how you create recognition and how you create not a post, but positioning. And so that's the thing and the foundation in which we stand on this side. Over here, it's not about stuff being pretty, but yes, yeah, we are cute, but it's about positioning and helping people to understand, when you know your position, you stand firm, you stand 10 toes down in what it is that you do, and and you be consistent with that, you will become top of mind and the voice that people will want to hear from, more likely than not. So those are some of my thoughts.
I love your thoughts, but what I'm going to do is turn your thoughts into action bullet points for you, because a part of this conversation that we're having right now is not just what you said, but it's also in you taking those beliefs, right, of what you have about visibility, adding some language around it where you regurgitate and teach them and make it make sense, right? So the question then becomes, in your own content about your services, are you telling them the difference between visibility in the way they're thinking and visibility in the way it needs to be? Are you bucking against the system of your marketplace of any old VA can just pop up a video and that's visibility? You see what I'm saying? So for you, you need to be focusing on some of these myth busters, some of these ideas that they have of what visibility is good enough. You know what I'm saying? What just posting anything out there more often, just flooding the right now in the conversation of AI, they're talking about AI slop, right? They talking about how we can kind of tell when you just went into the AI and then just cut and paste it out onto your social media. So are you having conversations where you're bucking the system of, hey, you don't know what you don't know to be able to prompt this AI to do what it needs to do because you're actually not an expert in the field. So you're an amateur using an expert's tool, and therefore you're getting amateur results. And so are you having that conversation enough?
That is so good. And you already know, if you know me, I am so on top of that. And I do love, 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 love that because you really just gave me uh, my short of a long video and what I am going to work on before this week is out. So it can be broken up to really dive into that. So I do. I love it. I love it. I'm supercharged over here.
Yeah. And I'm not I'm also as an expert, I still have to do these things. Like every time I go back to looking at my messaging, which is at least quarterly, I'm looking at, when I say certain things, do I look like other people who don't have my expertise, right? Because are they just able to say what I say and get away with it like their expertise matches mine? Because if so, my messaging is not strong enough. I'm not having proprietary conversations enough. So one of the things that I am doing during this rebrand that I'm doing for my coaching is giving it more of an operational framework, right? Because I am not just talking about marketing and sales and organizing your business for business growth like other business coaches. I'm coming from an operational standpoint, but if I'm not talking through an operational lens and making it sense, from the foundation of operations, then I sound just like them. They sound just like me. How do I stand out as the authority, right? So I'm going back and I'm adding those operations because one thing they cannot do is deny that I have authority in the area of operations. And so if they came in and they just, sold a lot of a product and then decided they want to teach other people how to sell a lot of a product and become a business coach, they can't say what I say because they're not who I am and they don't have the expertise that I have. But if I'm only speaking in the same sound bites that they can repeat with their lower version of
Mhm.
expertise, then my messaging is not right, right? I'm not owning my space the way I need to. And so even I am going back through things and adding that operational lens, adding that freedom lens. Because another thing is they also don't have a business that allows them to live and work in anywhere in the world like I do. So I need to also add that because that is a differentiator. That is a proprietary conversation of how do you run a successful business that not only pays you, but funds this lifestyle where you were in Asia for a year. How are you working in a different time zone since, my first part is time, right? How do I bring all that together? So I came up with another framework that I'm starting to release, right? So it's going to be about time and then clarity and then strategy and then structure and then all these things put together. So this conversation I am not immune to. I'm actually applying it, which is why we're having the conversation, right? Because I dominate a lot of conversations when I get down into the details. But like I told Dr. Toya, if you're way down there looking at me, how do I stand out? How do you know I'm your person if I'm standing with other people and from down there, you can't tell? Right? Oh, you can only tell when you get close and I'm having deeper conversations. No, I need to do things where you can tell from miles away. because I am repeating things that other people cannot repeat. Okay? So, any last thoughts on the conversation today? Because this was a good one. And it came out of things that even I need to do. So I was excited to have the conversation. So does anybody have any last thoughts on the conversation for today?
I do.
Please share.
I just wanted to reiterate that this was what Shawana said. This was really good and very much needed because I these are not questions that you ask yourself every day.
No.
So it's good to dig in there and do the work, see what needs to be done, and then subsequently do the work to rectify all of this. So thank you.
No problem. No problem. Shawana, you want to say something?
No, I was gonna say this felt like old times. I don't know about the rest of them people, but I was like, here we go, here we go. Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
no,
So
it is.
this,
It kind of it like that's why it's the morning. That's why it's the morning. It's the get up because it supercharged me. See, this is when you be like, if you was a guy, I wouldn't have to be worried about my hair or fixing my eyebrows. I'd be trying to record as soon as we get off of here. But
okay.
this definitely was what you always do, Shay Cannon. You rock. You rock. You definitely are an expander. You help really keep us on the right track. And yeah, nope. That's why I am not ashamed to mention your name in rooms because yeah, you do the doggone thing. You help keep us together so that we can continue to stand in our brilliance. That's it.
Oh, love it. Love it. Dr. Toya, did you want to add anything or would you like to pass?
Um, no, I think that I'm just going to echo what everybody else said. It was really good. And I think that I appreciate even though we weren't at a round table, right? The
Yeah.
round tableness feel that you're able to curate and, cultivate even on this type of platform. So, yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love when you guys confirm and affirm that the intention that I have for things is really how it's coming across. Because, when we stopped the morning show, I was like, I don't want to have the morning show every day, but I do want to have a conversation weekly. But I want that conversation to go beyond all of those morning shows that we've had. But we bring that back into the conversation, but as a baseline, and we go beyond it. So thank you for the affirmation and confirmation. All right, this has been the Make It Make Sense Live, which is an interactive business discussion as part of our free First Six Figures Business Mastermind community that positions Black and brown female online service-based entrepreneurs to generate your first six figures by learning how to make the money to fund your business, well, not your business, but your lifestyle of freedom, based on just positioning you and giving you tools, right? Not giving you guarantees. This is a part of a week-long discussion, y'all. And so it's meant to position you, but Tuesday is where it begins. So yesterday we have Talk About It Tuesday where you answer the discussion questions. On Wednesdays, we have the live discussion where you get value around the topic that those questions kind of form a theme for, which is what we just had today. So stay tuned in the community here on YouTube because tomorrow and every Thursday, I then release case studies that drive the value home in the Her Biz Breakdown segment. And finally, on Friday, it's where I go into the vault and pull out the morning show episodes that were the foundational value that we went beyond. That was the inspiration for this week's topic. All right. Find out more about me, your host, Shay Cannon, plus a link to join the free business mastermind group. It's in the description below. All right. If you have not already, don't leave us without giving us a thumbs up and liking the episode. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And again, make sure that you check out the breakdown video, Her Biz Breakdown. And with that, we'll see you next week for our next live conversation. However, we'll see you tomorrow for the Her Business Breakdown. Okay, we ended the live. We ended the live on the Facebook, on the YouTube, because